We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Will you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Gary Farley. Renee Curtis. Patrick Hale.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of our last meeting before you. Are there any changes or additions?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion that be approved. We have a second. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown. Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Renee Curtis. Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. First item on our business is the request by Botros, who is requesting a special exemption for an accessory structure or ADU. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2023-37 involves the property at 102 Neal Avenue. It's a .79 acre property located in the residential medium zoning district. Mr. Botros would like to establish a second dwelling on the property, an ADU. The dwelling itself will measure over 2,000 square feet, and the existing home is 1,266 square feet. So in fact, the proposed structure will actually become the principal, and then the existing structure would be the subordinate, the ADU. The applicant has indicated that their mother plans to reside in this ADU, and the reason that he is coming before you is that he does not meet the 1 acre requirement to obtain a permit to do it by right. I have since spoken to the applicant since the reports went out. I had some concerns about the existing septic system and the permit that was issued for 3 bedrooms back in 1987. And I've been in contact with the applicant, and I'm sure that they can explain. TDEC has gone out to the site. He's awaiting a letter from TDEC, and that if he is approved tonight, it could be conditioned. And we would not issue a permit without having the appropriate septic information. I have received multiple phone calls in opposition to this request. They were concerned about the small lot size and also the fact that he's going to establish a second driveway on the property. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? You'll come around, please, to the podium. Come around this way. Give us your name, any opening statements you'd like to make. There may be some questions.
My name is Wagieh Botros. I live in 102 Neal Avenue in Smyrna. And
Can you share with us why you would have a second driveway?
you don't need a second driveway, I will eliminate it.
Well, many times for family members, there's not another driveway. And I'm just curious what your plans are, what family members would live there and that type of thing.
I was planning to do another second house. This way I stay there. And when a guest comes in, they stay in another house. That's what I plan to do.
So it's for a guest, not family?
Guest or family comes in.
And how often you think that would be?
Every maybe 2 months, every 3 months, somebody comes in.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. You may be seated.
Thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Come around, please.
My name is Michael Simmons. I reside at 104 Neal Avenue, next door to the 102. I've been there since 1990. Our neighborhood, quiet neighborhood, we have some good-sized lots on that street. Putting these two houses on that one little 3/4 acre lot will infringe upon me, upon my property. That's going to put a driveway, because he's having the driveway come from one house to the other across the front of the house, all the way across to the other house, and then an offset, probably maybe 10, 15 foot or so off of my property line. That lot, to me, is just going to be too small. There's going to have to be a lot of trees that's going to have to be taken out, a lot of other things, and it's going to infringe on other people, too. Chris and J.C. Page, who live directly across the street, just moved in here probably a few years back, and they've had two wonderful little children born there, and they enjoy their yard, playing in the yard, and walking up and down the street with kids, along with a lot of other people. And that's just on that street. There's no other houses that are that close to each other. And then to build a 2,000 square foot house, where mine is, 1,000, or just about the same size as that home. The other homes are about that. There's one across the street from me that is a bigger home, but it's probably an 1.5 acre lot, close to 2 acre lot. The one directly across the street from his home is a 2 acre lot. To me, that's just going to be too close. And for it to be built for a guest or a family member to come by, we know what's going to happen. The house is going to become a rental property along with everything else. And we just don't want that there. You know, we'd like to keep the neighborhood simple. There's other houses on Seminary that have lots that are probably the width of what that is, but none of them have the depth. This lot has got a smaller depth than all the rest of the homes on that lot, or in that property area right there. You know, and that's just going to make, I mean, it's going to look awful. I've been doing renovation on my home itself, where the garage is, and expanding the kitchen and doing some work on my home. And I spend a lot of time out in my yard, and I've done a lot of landscape over the years out in that yard to make it presentable. This house has been vacant since like 2011. Numerous amount of people have wanted to buy the home, but I guess Bank of America chose not to sell the home until now. And of course, you know, when it comes out, and then, you know, to me, it looks to me like it's going to be an investor who's bought the home, an investor who's going to turn around and rent the home. You know, that's what it looks like to me. I'm totally against it. I know the people across the street, Jason Watson, who's directly across from me, he and his family just moved in this year, and they are totally against it too. You know, we all bought these homes, and it's not a good look for the neighborhood to have two houses right there close together, and then everybody else's lots are spread out. You know, it's just not a good look. I really, you know, it's not going to be for family or friends or something coming by. We know what's going to happen, and we'd like to not see that happen. So I'd appreciate you all taking time to go ahead and really look at that.
Do you know, in most of these lots out in the county, they have to have a separate auxiliary septic tank site like your property?
Yes. My property has a septic system on it, yes.
Does it have it has an auxiliary area where if it fails, they can put lines somewhere else?
Yes.
It has those
Yes.
as well? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, and I was talking to another buddy of mine, Mr. Holmes, Darrell Holmes, and he said the same thing. You know, what happens when one septic system lot fails right there? What do? You're going to have no more room. You know, I mean, it's a small lot. You know, in my opinion, it's
Any
too
other
small.
questions? Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up.
My name is Tom Paget, and I live at 108 Neal Avenue, and I've lived there for 31 years myself. You know, all that I've ever learned about the septic system is you have to have the larger septic system for a second house there, and there's really not room. In fact, if I believe, and I don't know this for a fact, but the way he's got the lines drawn, I think that the lines run the other way, and there's really no room back there to add additional lines to it, the best I can tell. And,
We appreciate that, although we don't do the septic system here. We're just doing the ADU, but I appreciate that. Somebody else will address that. Thank you.
But I'm just like Mike there, as I believe this is set up to be a rental property. You know, this gentleman moved in just a few months ago. We haven't even seen him. They bought a new vehicle with a drive-out tag on it, and it's kind of interesting. When he tagged that vehicle, it has a New Jersey tag on it. Like to me, he's just setting it up as a rental. And from what our little bit of research we did online, he has other rental properties too. I'd like to see if there was some way that we could police that it not become a rental. I know if we was on city sewer, he would be able to put that house in there like that. And also, he got the stakes set out there that the surveyors put, and the proximity of one house to the other is not very far apart. I mean, it's very, very close when you see the survey stakes sitting on the house. But I do, I know our house has another system in case it fails.
Right, and you said you're 108. Right there, okay.
What is the number?
108.
I lost my mouse. Okay, there.
Several of these neighbors have been here. There's only one original person that was from original there, but several of us have been in there in that 30-plus year range. Quite honestly, I'm afraid if something like this happens, it's just going to kind of go wild in the neighborhood too, because the only people I've ever known to have any kind of septic issues in our neighborhood is 102 and 107 across from me. Nelson's had several things, and they frequently had to have their systems pumped over there, and as all these trees are in the back have grown up into the field lines. But when Larry that lived there before, he talked about having multiple issues back there. I thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, do you mind if I respond to the septic issue? If the gentleman gets approved tonight and he comes to our office for a building permit, he will be required to present a septic permit. On that septic permit, they'll have to identify a duplicate area for the septic system that they're installing. So we won't issue a permit without it.
Will it be an auxiliary site for each building?
Well, we won't address the one that's currently there. We will only be addressing the new one, and neither does TDEC. If it's not non-functioning or doesn't have any issues, they won't address that. We will only address the new one. But we will ensure that there is a duplicate site for the new one, or sufficient space or sufficient area for it.
So there won't be a duplicate site identified for the existing already? I mean, my house that I bought in the 80s had
There
one.
should already be, but when TDEC issues a second septic system or septic permit on the same lot, they will look for the duplicate area from the initial system before they issue the permit.
I see.
That's something they're going to look at.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We're still open for the public hearing. Close the public hearing.
Question for the staff. Do ADUs, they do not have a separate mailing address for them, do they? They do have a separate mailing address?
In fact, all ADUs have to be addressed as for emergency response purposes.
So it's not A and B or anything like that? It's
No,
a
we
whole
cannot
number?
use A and B. It'd have
Okay.
its own number. Yeah, and this would be challenging to address. This one is good catch.
Right. Okay, thank you.
The new house would have to be 102, and the old house would have to become 100 to make it work.
I was just wondering for my own knowledge. Thanks.
And I just want to confirm with staff, normally ADUs are allowed on 1 acre or more usually? Is that what the limitation is normally, when we wouldn't see it?
Yes, this application is being presented to you because it does not meet the 1 acre requirement.
And what was the logic behind the 1 acre requirement when it was set forth in the zoning resolution? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Why wasn't, is my mic not working? Let me try a different one.
What was the logic behind when
Oh, well, when
Is
we
this- is
adopted
this
the
any better?
ordinance, the resolution, I mean,
that's what they came up with?
You present options to the planning commission, and I think we even consulted with the Board of Zoning Appeals. This was in 2009.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm just wondering if you knew why they chose an acre instead of 3/4 of an acre or an acre and a half. That's all. I'm just trying to find some
Simple 1
rhyme or
acre.
reason as to why an acre was chosen.
Patrick, did you have a question?
Well, I just have a question, because in the application it states that this the mother plans to reside there. When the gentleman was up in front, he said it was for guests. So does that become an issue as far as it turning into a short-term rental on how an AUD would be addressed?
So the owner has to reside on the property to continually be in compliance. Invited guests would be difficult to enforce. Family members, obviously, if they have a family member, they can stay there. But if we find out that the owner is not residing there, they would lose the right, to have the accessory dwelling unit, and there would have to be corrective action. But it is a requirement, and Mr. Botros has indicated that he does reside there. So. And I don't know if I answered your question because I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I have another information question. I forgot what I was going to say. Hang on, I'll get back to it.
Traditionally, ADUs aren't half again bigger than the original home.
Oh, no, that sometimes happens, especially when you have like a larger acreage tract that someone has bought and they want to build their dream home on it. They can come in on the front end and build like a shop with an apartment in it. That would be considered the principal dwelling. And then when they come and build the second residence, which is the principal residence, then that smaller structure becomes the accessory dwelling unit, and they would have to go through the ADU process and file the paperwork.
I know we don't address it in the paperwork. It is the smallest lot in the subdivision. Does aesthetics not mean anything?
Aesthetics? We do look for it to match the existing structure, whether it's materials, and you can see by the elevations provided in the application, they indicated that it would match the existing structure. Comparison with surrounding lots on that side of Seminary Road, that was not considered, and this is such a blown-up shot, it's hard to see what the other lots in the subdivision measure. But we see accessory dwelling units on much smaller lots, so.
Now I remember my question. It is the definition of residence. What establishes residency for Rutherford County?
I would assume 6 months or more, that is your address that you live at.
6 months and a day, or 6 months, just 6 months?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, we've asked a lot of questions. Let's have a motion on this. Anyone have a motion? Either up or down. Let's give these folks an answer.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion so we at least get a vote. Make a motion to deny that it's not compatible with the surrounding neighbors.
You're, to deny it. Okay, do we have a second? Second. Got a second? Did you second? Okay. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Pass. Next item we have before us is a request by Michael Urso, who is asking a ADU, and what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2023-38 involves the property at 8060 Rich Pine Drive. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory dwelling unit involving a property located in the RM zoning district. And this property measures 0.38 acres. It is located in a subdivision that is reliant on a step system. And the applicant had started some improvements to the backyard. I believe they were putting in a pool, and they wanted to have a pool house, and that pool house would have a kitchen and a bathroom. And I don't think it was the applicant's intent to establish an accessory dwelling unit, but he wanted his pool house to have those elements and have a place for guests to stay on occasion. And we did not receive any phone calls regarding this application. The applicant has indicated that the building will be designed to match the existing home, and these are homes in the area. Oh, right. So you can see they supplied some elevations and a floor plan for the accessory dwelling unit, and you can see the pool, I believe, has already been permitted, and this is the location, the black and white striped area is the location of the proposed ADU. And when they come to be permitted, we would also verify once again that all the setbacks have been met. And that concludes our presentation.
We have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Michael, did I get your last name right? Urso. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, give, any additional information you want to share.
Sure. My name's Michael Urso. We live at 8016 Rich Pine Drive. We are in the process of building a pool, and this request is for a pool house for recreation. It will include a bathroom and kitchen for cooking out, TV to watch sports games, things like that on the weekends, and it will be right next to the house. As mentioned earlier, we haven't had, we've talked to all of our neighbors, and they all support it. Nobody opposes it whatsoever. We've had a couple neighbors drive by, a couple neighbors come over and talk to us about it, but everybody supports it. That's all, unless there's any questions.
There'd be no one living there.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just for recreation.
Thank you.
You're going to have a pool party out there for us?
Sure, you want to come? We'd love
Any
to
other
have you.
questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have any further questions? Mike? Have a motion on this.
Before a motion, I'd just like to state that this is significantly smaller than the previous application and does also appear to be within character of the neighborhood. And so as such, I will move that we approve with staff comments.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? Have a second. Patrick. Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown, Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hill,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item we have is the request by Wallace, who is requesting a temporary special exemption for a food sale up on the property. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2023-39 involves the property located at 11903 West Trimble Road. It's a request for temporary special exception approval, allowing the outdoor sale of food upon a property located in the RL zone. And the applicant was notified by code enforcement. It was determined that they were operating their food truck from their residential property, and upon investigation of the site, it was determined that the applicant needed to come into planning and obtain the appropriate permits to continue operating. The applicant immediately came in. We talked about the lack of regulations for mobile food carts. The applicant indicates that they do take their food cart off to festivals or other events or other neighborhoods temporarily, but they would like the opportunity to open on Saturdays and the occasional holiday. They would like to operate it from their parking area on their property or a gravel area. The applicant has indicated that across the street you have a church they will use for parking. This is a low-speed area. It's like 15 miles per hour. And across the street you have the Rural Center Zoning District, and that's a special character district that was established for these like older neighborhoods that have an identity, and she's just right on the edge of that. We also discussed options of maybe rezoning, but she thought that this would be the best route for her and her food truck. Now, the applicant has submitted, she also emailed each of you a large packet with letters of support and additional information regarding her application. She also included some inspections, licenses to demonstrate that, you know, they're in compliance with all of other agencies. Also, tonight, she brought in a letter that someone supplied her after the main letter was sent out, and I passed that out, so you should have it at your desk, and it's in support of the application. This is a temporary permit that can be issued up to a 60-month period. They only want to open on Saturdays and the occasional holiday, but if she operates and there are no issues in 6 months and there are no changes to the application, she can actually apply for an administrative approval and not have to come before the board again. Now, if there's any changes to the application, then of course you would be seeing the special exception.
Have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please.
And I just point out, this is the area of the site that they will have the food truck. This is the intersection that they are located at. This is the parking area of the church directly across the street, and they've indicated that the church allows them and is in favor of them using the parking area. Hopewell Fellowship, this is their existing home. And she also included some site layouts for you to look at.
Thank you. Go ahead.
As she pointed out, we just simply want to be able to open up our food truck on Saturdays and occasional holidays, usually like July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, those kind of holidays, maybe New Year's Day, we don't know. But we're only open like from 7:30 to 2, and there's never been any issues whatsoever. before we ever started this business, we actually talked to all of our neighbors in the surrounding area, just to be sure that no one had any issues with it, because we do smoke meats and it puts off a smell, and everybody pretty much loves that smell, so we don't have any complaints at all about it. So we were kind of surprised that we had a complaint at all, but anyway, we have supporting people here with us. We have people from the church to verify that they don't have a problem with us using the parking. So if you need to speak with them, we have a neighbor. We also have another neighbor, Mr. Vaught, here. So if any of them want to speak.
We have any questions from anyone?
I don't know if I... I don't think I actually have a picture with me of that. I mean, I can get it to you.
All right, with this picture right here.
Renee?
This truck, yeah, I think I read it's always going to be at that location when it's not in use too? Correct. Okay. Not in use, it's there. Right, I saw all that. Yeah. And 100 on your health grade. Congratulations, yeah. Right.
Inspected in this spot.
In that location.
They have no problem
While we were
with it.
operating on a Saturday.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Go ahead.
My name is Delia Goodman. I've lived in Milton for 45 years. I've been a patron of the food truck when it was operating before it was shut down. It's delicious, the best barbecue we've ever had. We love it in the community. I'm also the pianist for the church across the street, Hopewell Presbyterian Church. Our minister is here in support. Our clerk of session is here in support. Other neighbors, could you all stand up, the supporting people for this? We're here today to support their petition.
Thank you. I'm glad you did that instead of myself. So, anyone else want to speak? If you'll come around, please.
While he's coming up, do you mind if I make a comment? I might just add that we didn't receive a complaint about the food truck. We just received a call stating that it was there and asking if it was in compliance.
Come on around.
So they're here today to get it into compliance.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thomas Walburn, and I live in that house right across the street, and I do support the Fiery Pig. They brought a lot of folks back to town. We were sitting there and sitting around talking. Some folks that live 3 minutes down the road hadn't been downtown Milton in years. You know what I mean? And I think it's a good idea to have, the food truck once or twice a month. It's not hurting anyone. I mean, it helps their business. These two work hard, and they're just trying to make a life for themselves. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. I might add that we received a call from the commissioner out in that district, and he sees no reason why it shouldn't be approved. So he couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me to let you know. Any further questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question for staff. You said how long of a period of time can we approve this for?
It can be approved up to a 6-month period. It doesn't really say 6 months cumulatively or 6 months continuously in the calendar year, but the applicant is not wanting to locate and sell food from the site every day. But upon that 6 months, if you choose to approve, she can come in, and if there's no issue, she can apply for an administrative approval, and she will not have to come before you guys to obtain.
Good. That's what was hoping that she wouldn't have to come back here every 6 months. So.
Yeah, this is probably going to be an ongoing project out there for them, so we're not putting any time limit on it. If the staff sees that it needs to come back to us, it can come back and talk about it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Manuel's Cajun Store was open out there. And so with that being said, I would move that we approve with staff comments.
All right, we have a motion to be approved. We have a second. Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Gary Farley. Sorry. Renee Curtis. Yes. Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is approved.
Yes.
I'm so sorry it threw me off.
Before we leave here, let me remind you, in our December meeting, Renee will be making arrangements for us to break bread together, and after the meeting, of course. And if just let her know, or Danielle, one of the other, on how many in your party will be there, so we'll know how to take care of that. Renee, do you want to add something to it?
Any suggestions that y'all would like to go to, too, we would appreciate that. But if you want somewhere new, and just with a good number. All right? And it's Merry
Thank you.
Christmas
We are
time.
adjourned.